This is WPTV.
Welcome back to the desk. We are joined here by the NFL crew for their first block after the Super Bowl with a lot going down in free agency. And here to break all of it down with me, we have Ryan, Jimmy, Justis, and Joe. Justis, we'll start with you. Dak Prescott finally got his bag from the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones. Now, I've heard a lot of things after Dak got his money, Super Bowl or bust, playoffs or bust, division or bust. What are your thoughts? And what do you think getting this money for Dak would do for him?
Super Bowl or bust is a bold claim, Samory, a very bold claim. I
didn't say it. Wasn't me.
I don't think that Dak Prescott puts the Cowboys in that position, but I am happy for Dak. I think the Cowboys should have been paid Dak Prescott. I didn't expect the Cowboys to land a big, quarterback this offseason. So I think that this was a smart move. And I think that Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott would at least put the Cowboys the favorite to be the top of the division for at least the next 2 years, considering they're in the worst division probably in NFL history. So
they're right. It's the NFC least.
The NFC least. So I think at least for short-term wise, I think this was a good move.
Joe?
I think the discourse around this would be completely different had he not gotten injured. But it shows you how valuable he was to them. If we remember correctly, he was on pace for a 5,000-yard season, and the Cowboys, despite their defense playing terribly, were putting up a monstrous amount of points every single week. Dak Prescott gets hurt, and that completely goes away. So the narrative that he's a system quarterback, I think, should be put to bed at this point. The Cowboys, since he has come into the league, have had really good success, and it seems like he keeps developing as a passer and taking more shots. And what I like, and I keep saying this, he is clutch. Fourth quarter Dak Prescott is one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Right?
Yeah, I agree with everything Joe just said, but then you get the big word in there, injured. You put all those eggs in the basket when a quarterback is at the top of his game, healthy, everything like that, because that's what they did, like with, for example, Pat Mahomes when they re-signed him a couple years back for however many a year, 40 mil a year. Now he's getting 40 mil a year, but he just broke his leg and it came outside of his skin. All those breaks like that, though we've seen in NFL history, the players often don't come back the same way that they were. So I really do think they overpaid him. And I know he wanted his bag. He's been asking for his bag for a couple years now, but I just don't know if they should have pulled the trigger in this fashion.
Well, I know they probably didn't want to franchise him again. But I definitely understand what you're coming from. Jimmy, close this up.
All this does for me is prove that the Cowboys have no excuse not to win the division this year. They're the only team in the NFC East with a stable quarterback and with a stable quarterback position for the next couple of seasons. Does this fix their horrible defense? No. Does this fix Ezekiel Elliott having his worst career season? No. Does it fix their offensive line? No. Does it fix the question marks we have about Mike McCarthy? No. But at the end of the day, as much as the Cowboys deserve to be slandered for their question marks and underachieving, and I'm here for it all day, at the end of the day, Dak Prescott's going to go out. He's going to put up his numbers. The Cowboys will finish 8-8 or 9-7, and they'll limp into the playoffs, and we'll all be happy about it, and they'll go home in the first round.
Yes.
Even 7-9.
7-9 will probably get them the division.
It did for Washington.
Yeah. Hey, we said it already in this block. The NFC least. Wasn't the first time that happened. But Tuesday was a day notable for franchise tags. A lot of guys got franchise tagged. A lot of guys didn't. Joe, we'll go to you first. Out of the players who were franchise tagged, who was the most noteworthy?
Well, I have to go with Justin Simmons, safety from the Denver Broncos. This guy's been on my radar. I want him to hit free agency because I think he deserves it. I mean, he can get a real bag. I mean, he's right up there with some of the best safeties in the game. A Pro Bowler, Walter Payton, Man of the Year, and he's all over the place. I mean, almost 100 tackles, 5 picks. Every snap he has been in for the Broncos the last 3 years. That has to account for something. This is very notable for me. I think Denver, they're really trying to build something defensively. They have been for a few years. Hasn't quite worked out. But this guy is the guy you build around.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't worked out. I mean, they haven't been to the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl. That was a long time ago. That was a very long time ago. Justis, who is your noteworthy franchise tag?
I'm going with Allen Robinson from the Chicago Bears. I think we knew that they weren't going to let Allen Robinson test free agency. Last year, 1,250 yards, 102 catches. Definitely their number one option. And considering that they're going to probably have a big push for Deshaun Watson or maybe even Russell Wilson, I think that Allen Robinson is going to be a big part of luring a better quarterback than Mitch Trubisky in.
Or Nick Foles, one of the whoever the quarterback is for the Bears. I know it's Mitchell Trubisky, but that's a hard one. I feel bad for the Bear fans out there. But Ryan, who you got?
I got the local favorite, Leonard Williams, the defensive tackle for the Giants. Had a phenomenal season last year, career high 11 and a half sacks, one of the best interior defensive linemen in the entire league, and is part of that burgeoning defensive line that really helped the Giants in the latter half of that season. This is the second straight year that they've tagged him, but this gives him more time to ink a deal, which I'm sure is going to be worth a lot of cash come the end of next year.
Absolutely. Jimmy?
I'm going to take Chris Godwin of the Buccaneers. He missed a few games last season, but he's always a productive receiver. I think the move to franchise tag him is a bigger thing to talk about due to the decision to not tag Shaquille Barrett. The Buccaneers are going to work to redo his deal. We saw him just redo Tom Brady's deal. Best player, general manager in football. So the Buccaneers are going to retain most of their talent, and I think that's the biggest move.
Yeah, I believe I'll also say Levante David also got a deal from the Bucs. So the Bucs are stacking up to try to get Tom Brady an 8th ring. Oh man, I don't even. No, let's not even get into that because that's already.
He has 2 fingers left. He has 2 fingers left.
That's already sounding sad. But speaking on Tom Brady, his former team, I think made one of the more shocking decisions I think that Bill Belichick did. As somebody who releases great players a year early, he re-signed Cam Newton. I did not expect this to happen. So Jimmy, we'll go to you first. Is Bill Belichick out of his mind? And if he isn't, do you think Cam will get the Patriots back into the playoffs?
I don't think they'll get him back in the playoffs. I do expect him to improve. You have to look at Bill Belichick. You talked about not overpaying for players. This clearly shows to me that the Jimmy Garoppolo kind of trademark for quarterbacks isn't much. I look at Cam Newton as a 1-year placeholder. They'll probably use him, see how he goes, and depending where they fall in the draft, you may see him take a Trey Lance or a Mac Jones. But this is not a long-term solution. This is basically an insurance policy.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with Jimmy. He is a placeholder, and I think one of the big factors in them re-signing him is the fact that he is one of the most universally loved players among players in the league. One of the best. They made him a captain within a month, which is unheard of in the Patriots world. You really have to earn it under Belichick, and he did it in that short amount of time. So yes, he didn't have a good season last year, but just the presence of him definitely hopefully it helps the team for their sake. But will he get them to the playoffs? I don't think so.
Now, Joe, Belichick and the Patriots do have a lot of money in cap space. So with that being said, and a lot of their opt-outs from last year potentially coming back for this season, I look, they were 7-9. They were a few ways away from being 10-6. So I definitely think Cam could with the new format. I think Cam could get them in the playoffs. Do you?
I do. I really do. I think the Bills are going to take a bit of a step back. I think there's going to be a lot more tape on Josh Allen. But what Ryan said, I really like. When Tom Brady went to the Buccaneers, a lot of guys followed him there, and it was a real big spot for recruitment. And I think Cam Newton has that ability as well with all these wideouts and, so a couple good tight ends in Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. And boy, do they need a tight end. I think Cam Newton's going to attract other players there as well.
What about Ryan? What about Ryan Izzo? Morris County product.
Okay. Come on. They need a number one receiver. They need something in the passing game. And a lot of what happened last year was not entirely Cam Newton's fault. They had no real outside threat. You can't do anything with that.
Justis?
I'd have to agree with Ryan and Jimmy. As Ryan pointed out, Cam Newton is, loved throughout the league, but that's because of, his MVP days. And unfortunately, those days are behind him. He's not the same anymore. And as far as the playoffs, I don't think, it'll be enough. The AFC is too stacked right now. I do think the Bills will still have a lock in that division, and the Dolphins are still a good team. And you still got the Browns, the Steelers, the Chargers, the Colts, the Raiders, who are all going to be pushing for that wild card spot. So I don't see them making the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. as you just alluded to the Dolphins, Kyle Van Noy got a release by him. So we might see a reunion back in New England with Van Noy and Bill Belichick. But last question of the day for you guys. Russell Wilson has been in the talks recently. And Russell Wilson, he's a quiet guy. Everybody knows him to be a good guy. He started throwing shots everywhere at everybody. Everybody was getting a little bit of something from Russell Wilson. But Joe, will go to you because you're a big Russell Wilson guy, or you used to be a big Russell Wilson guy. He wants to go to the Bears. He wanted to go to Cowboys. Now that's not happening. Dolphins. If Russell Wilson is traded, where do you want to see him?
There is a perfect spot for Russell Wilson, a team that would send him outside of the NFC, a team that would bring the Seahawks a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback in return, and a team that likes to air it out as Russell Wilson throws one of the best deep balls in the league. That is the Las Vegas Raiders, who would be a Super Bowl contender in that offense with Russell Wilson. And I tell you, it's, the wife likes a big market. Las Vegas, the entertainment scene down there is outstanding. I think that it is a match made in heaven. Gruden Wilson can make magic.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, the wife. I don't want to see him anywhere else. I want to see him in Seattle. I think him and Carroll have been a great quarterback coach duo. I think the second best one since Belichick and Brady. What he just needs is personnel. It's him, Watson, and Mahomes. When they don't have their offensive line, they look hopeless back there. And he just needs products on the outside to guard the ends. If they can get that through free agency or through the draft, hopefully, he should be fine. Should be better off than he was last year, definitely.
Jimmy?
I agree with Ryan. I think Russell Wilson doesn't quite understand how well he's got it. This is a guy that since he's gotten 2 extensions from the Seahawks, he has not gotten back to the Super Bowl when he reached twice on a rookie contract. So you have DK Metcalf, you have Tyler Lockett. Way back when you traded Max Unger away for Jimmy Graham, he wasn't complaining about that. I think this whole thing was handled poorly. I think he needs to, you got the defense, the Legion of Boom, you could probably put for the reason why they had so much success. You handle it better. You go to the GM, you say, hey, can you draft me a couple offensive linemen? And it shouldn't have turned into like what it is now. I think he needs to just go out there. And the Seahawks are in a good situation.
Yeah, I like that. That was a good point, Jimmy. Very good point. He has not been back to the NFC title game since the Legion of Boom. A lot of people do not talk about that enough. So I'm very happy that you pointed that out. But Mr. Justis, close this out, sir.
I'm going to have to disagree with you both. I personally think that the Seattle Seahawks ship has sailed. I know Joe mentioned the Las Vegas Raiders, but like I said earlier, I think the AFC is too tight right now. And I think that another team that would be instant title favorites with Russell Wilson is the San Francisco 49ers. Not only do they have a top 10 defense, but they also have a top 10 offensive line. I think if you drop Russell Wilson in that system, they'd be instant title favorites. And the weather's a little bit nicer than Seattle. I think Sierra would like it. So I'm going to have to go with the 49ers.
I don't think the 49ers would trade Russell Wilson to their rival, or the Seahawks would trade Russell Wilson to their rivals. But if they did, they'd probably hate that for themselves. But since Cam came back, I thought he was going to go to the Patriots. I thought that would have been a very interesting dynamic to see Russell Wilson and Bill Belichick. But I'm going to have to agree with Ryan and Jimmy. I think he doesn't know how he got it, how good he has it. And I think he just needs to stay put. And I think he could win there. I honestly think that he could win in Seattle if they just tool some things up, make some adjustments and get things together. But who knows? We'll see. I think Russell Wilson's going to stay. I don't see him going anywhere. But that was all for this week's episode of WP Sports Test. It was another good one. And I thank you guys for joining us on the Zoom. Shout out to Zoom. We've been going strong for a couple months now, actually. We've been going strong for a couple months. But next week we're gonna go out and talk about WP baseball and WP softball as they started their seasons this week. But we're gonna recap next week, and we're gonna be back with the MLB crew as the MLB season is shortly approaching us. Don't forget to follow us at SportsTestWP on Twitter and Instagram. And I'd like to give a special shout out to our studio manager, Al Clarke, and the rest of the cast of the crew that helped us get this award. So to you guys, you are greatly appreciated. And I think all the people here at WPTV, we did this together. This is not just a Sports Test award. We did this together. So, I just want to give appreciation to you guys. But for everyone at the desk, I'm Samory Rose, and we'll see you guys next week.